Are you a musician?
Yeah.
What is it that musicians have that they can communicate so well with the kids?
Music.
I mean, they've always had music. There's always been
Music has always been a major form of communication. I mean, now the lyric and the type of music is a little bit more involved in society than it was.
I need something done. Let me tell you,
Okay, that was a little clip from the infamous, famous Woodstock adventure there. Back in '69, which kind of introduces my next guest, Mr. David Crosby, who's sitting on the set with me right now. David, pleasure to see you.
How you doing?
Thanks for coming in today.
My pleasure.
I've heard you got here actually rather early this morning.
Yeah. Well, see, I think it was light already. It was, like 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that. It's not uncommon on the road. It's hard being on the road.
Well, I'm sure you're familiar with traveling around. You've been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Years and years and years.
Yeah, we have a joke that that's what they pay us for. They don't pay us to play the music. They pay us to do the travel.
To do
The travel's pretty tough.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you this evening. We're all looking forward to the show. I believe it's a sold-out show at this point. If
I think
not,
it is,
there may be a few tickets left at guest services, but
If there aren't, just sneak in and...
sneak in,
Yeah.
good old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Great. I do have quite a few questions to ask you. I don't think I'll ever get this chance again to have someone of your stature on
You
my
don't
set.
know, man. You may wind up working for 60 minutes.
I don't know if I want to work for 60 minutes. I kind of like this job right here, but you never know. You never know. First off, you started way back when doing a duo with your brother.
Yep.
Before anything ever happened.
Yep.
Wound up with the Les Balladers.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, Les Baxter's Balladeers.
Right. And then did a few solo demo recordings before winding up with the Byrds.
Yeah, I worked for I don't know, 2 or 3 years as a folkie, going around and playing in coffee houses in various cities, kind of living on the road.
And you've been obviously in the music business your entire life, but how does one like yourself get inspired to get into music? What was the first thing that really kind of launched you into that direction?
I thought I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
Because my dad was a cinematographer, cameraman, made films, a lot of films. And so I thought, that would be really cool. But I picked up a guitar. I think my brother gave me a guitar, and I started playing guitar and singing, and I found out that I could get the attention of girls with the guitar. And that pretty much, that was a great encouragement. And the truth was, I hadn't done it for very long before I just realized that's what I was supposed to be doing. It was obviously what I was meant to do. So.
And then you kind of ran into a couple members that were starting a band formerly known as the Jet Set before being known as the Byrds.
You've done your homework, yeah. Roger McGuinn and Gene Clark. And I started singing harmony with them because that was, what I was really good at, was singing harmony. And it worked, and we liked it. So we worked at it for a while, and that became the Byrds.
And history with the Byrds, you were with them for at least 5 albums with the Byrds.
Yeah, I think.
A span of 3.5, 4 years approximately. A lot of people coming in and out of the Byrds.
No, that was after.
After you left?
Yeah,
There
after.
were a lot of changes?
First thing that happened with the Byrds was Gene left. He decided he couldn't fly on planes.
Mm-hmm.
And Roger said, well, if you can't fly, you can't be a Byrd.
Okay.
So then there was 4 of us. And then we worked for another year or so with just the 4 of us, and it still worked pretty well. We missed him, but it still worked pretty well. But then I split, and after that, there was a long period where Roger would just hire different bands and call it the Byrds. And that wasn't so good, and then he finally stopped doing that and went out as just himself, as Roger McGuinn.
Younger Than Yesterday, one of the Byrds albums, was that one of the last albums you worked with the Byrds, or were there?
That might have been the best one.
One of the best ones.
Yeah.
And then things started moving away. You were obviously influenced by jazz, blues, other ethnic music that you were trying to integrate within the Byrds.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you played, you kind of substituted for Neil Young.
Yeah, In Springfield? Yeah, I did one gig only.
For one gig only.
Yeah, I can't possibly substitute for Neil Young, but I did take his place.
You filled in
for one gig, yeah.
I believe that was for the Monterey Pop Fest, was that right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you decided at that point that you may want to change your direction in music? How did that work?
Well, I was looking for the next thing to do, and I really liked Stephen Stills. I thought he was tremendously talented. I still think he's a tremendously talented guy. And so I started hanging out with him, and we were singing singing songs to each other, and I found out I could sing harmony to his stuff really well, and I liked it a lot. And then Cass Elliot, who was a dear friend, Mama Cass from Mama's Papas, was a wonderful friend, and she had brought Graham over to my house and didn't tell me who he was. She just brought him over and said, "Hi, it's my friend Graham."
Graham Nash.
Yeah. So we spent some time together, and I liked him a lot. And then later on, I realized who he was, and I knew that he was, if anything, an even better harmony singer than I was. So one time, and there's an ongoing disagreement about where this happened, whether it was at Cass's or if it was at Joni Mitchell's. I say it was at Joni's. Stephen says it was at Cass's. But we sang together. We sang "In the Morning When You Rise." And as soon as we did that, we knew, that was what we were supposed to be doing. Sometimes it's very unequivocal. It's no question in your mind.
And we're talking around 1968,
68,
69,
yeah.
somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nash came in. You guys brought in Dallas Taylor as well to play on drums. And the infamous, famous Woodstock gig, which I believe was one of the first gigs that you ever played on stage in front of anyone.
It was our second night.
Second night.
Second night was Woodstock.
Now, Woodstock, obviously, everyone knows about Woodstock.
Well, they think they know about Woodstock. But the truth is, it was such a good thing that the legend, looms a lot larger than the event even, and the event was fantastic. The magic of it was that nothing really bad happened. That it was the first time anybody had put that many people in one place, without any, murders or robberies or rapes or any of that. There was a vibe there that was quite special. People were sharing with each other food and space and water and warm clothes. And
amazing.
It was pretty wonderful thing. And it was also the first time that we, hippies, realized that there were a lot of us. First time we'd ever seen more than a handful, at a time. And we realized, oh, wait a minute, there really is a whole generation of people growing up here with an alternative set of values. And that was very, very important.
Something like 200,000 people wound up?
At least 200,000 on the field in front of the stand.
Right.
More like 250,000 at the immediate site, probably another 200,000 on their way there. The entire New York State Thruway was shut down for 25 miles. Solid. They couldn't move, they had nowhere to go, so they just got out of their cars and camped.
There were some rumors that people think that possibly the authorities were trying to create chaos to kind of shun down on this whole gig that wasn't supposed to happen, that happened anyway.
I saw no evidence of that.
No.
The police that I saw were very decent and really trying hard to help. I remember one incident where there was a cop who had picked up a girl who had cut her foot on some glass in the mud, and he was carrying her to his car and put her in the car, and then at least 30 hippies pushed his car out of the mud. And there was a lot of that. I didn't see any evidence of anybody, trying to turn it into a disaster. But there sure was a disaster at Altamont when they tried to recreate it.
Well, I was just about to ask you, how does that compare? Because you guys played at the 94.
94 was more like a media zoo.
Anniversary.
It was pretty silly. There was
Yeah.
some good music that got played, but it was a media zoo. I've never been interviewed so many times in my life in one place, ever. And because we were one of the only ones who'd been there the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There was only a couple of us that had been there. So we were the ones everybody wanted to interview. And it was okay, the music was pretty good, the situation was all right. But you can't really recreate something. You can create something new, you can call it the same thing,
Right.
but it's not going to be the same.
Right.
And it wasn't. And the third one was a total disaster. The people who ran it, you know, obviously didn't realize the power of the music. They played a bunch of angry, you know, full of angst and uptight music to a bunch of people for 3 days and cheated them on the water and food, and then they were surprised when they got mad.
Which kind of leads me into my next question. What do you think of the music today and what they're saying in the music today as opposed to what everyone is trying to communicate?
Well, there's a lot of different things. You know, music today is a very wide subject. I really don't like a lot of it that I think is very shallow and very constructed, very lacking in soul or any content. That's partly the effect of MTV and VH1 because they've turned it more into a theatrical experience than a musical experience. That's a reflection of the ethics in the United States, where it's more important, you know, the surface is more important than the substance. I think that's a, you know, it's kind of a sad thing, but that's how it's going. I don't like that. I don't like, you know, people who are there because they've got, you know, a pretty body and they're good dancers, who are selling themselves as music artists, who can't write, can't sing, can't play, and depend on a whole crowd of people. Well, the marketing is gigantic, and they've got a whole staff of people that write the songs, produce the records, make them sound good with Pro Tools, bring their voice into tune, which they can't do themselves, and then when they go out and play a concert, they play a tape,
right,
and dance, and I think that's cheating. So I'm not happy about that. But there are people, you know, I was very encouraged by the Grammys, because there you see that girl Nora Jones, who's the real deal, can sing, really play, you know, she's real, winning. And that young guy, what was his name, John Benson, I don't know, the guy who played really great guitar.
Mm-hmm.
He was fantastic. You saw James Taylor playing with Yo-Yo Ma, which was fantastic. You saw Art and Paul, you know, playing together again. That was all very quality music. I loved it. And I liked seeing that there were some young performers there who really could deliver the real deal. There are people out there now doing fantastic singer-songwriter music. Sean Colvin, which is unbelievably good. Mark Cohen, probably one of the best singer-songwriters alive. There are people really good.
Who do you have in your CD player right now at home?
Both of those.
Yeah.
Sean Colvin, Mark Cohen, a guy who's dead now, who was the best acoustic guitar player in the world, named Michael Hedges. Mm-hmm. A group called Venice from LA that's without question the best vocal band in the world. No contest. They don't make a dime. But they're absolutely the best. Much better than anybody else.
Well, we'll hear the real thing tonight, right?
Yeah.
Do you mind if we take a quick break, and I want to talk a little about CPR, if we can?
Sure.
I know you're a busy man tonight.
I just need my dinner.
Okay. Well, we'll get you dinner too. Let's take a quick break, take a look at our weather, and we'll be back in just a second to wrap things up with David Crosby. Thank you very much again for coming down this evening. Be right back.
Thank you. Thank you, we needed that. This is our second gig. This is the second time we've ever played in front of people, man. We're scared shitless.
Okay, we're back. David's nice enough to stay a few more minutes here. He hasn't had dinner yet, and he's getting ready for the show tonight. Hope you enjoy that in the King Pine Room. Believe there may be a few tickets left. If they are, you want to get them quick because they are going fast. I want to talk briefly about CPR, the new event in your life, getting back in touch with James Raymond, your son. How was that reunion for you?
Quite wonderful. It's like having a lightning bolt hit your life. He's an amazing young guy. He's a better musician than I am by a long shot. He didn't know that I was his father. He'd been put up for adoption by his mom, and when he was about 30, he was getting married, and he was encouraged by his parents who raised him to look and see who his birth parents were. And when he found out that I was his father, when he saw my name on the birth certificate, he had been a musician for about 20 years already, without knowing, which is kind of amazing. So I think the genetics thing really does work.
That is amazing.
He's an amazing young guy. Very, very talented, very, very nice, more grown up than I am. And our relationship is more like brothers because we both have 7-year-olds that we're raising, together. I had been playing with Jeff Pivar before. And when he and I and James tried playing together, it just worked. And so we've been doing it ever since.
And Jeff has quite a history in music as well, playing with James Taylor, Rick Lee Jones, Joe Cocker, B.B. King, just to name a few.
Ray Charles, too.
Ray Charles.
He's quite the player.
And you guys...
See, are you going to come to the gig?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be there.
You'll see. He pretty much just blazes on guitar. I don't think I've ever heard anybody better.
That's great. And now you...
which, considering that I've played with Clapton and Hendrix and Neil Young and a lot of other people, is pretty amazing, but I've never heard anybody better than Jeff.
You guys released your first album somewhere around 98, 97, 98, somewhere around there?
I don't know when it was. The first one we put out was just a lucky night that we caught on tape at a place called Cuesta College. And I don't think you can get that one in the store, but you can get it on our site, Crosby CPR, all one word, crosbycpr.com. We have that and 2 studio albums. The first one's just called CPR, the second one's called Just Like Gravity. That's the most recent one. And then in the
live
middle,
albums as well?
Yeah, in the middle of them, there's another live album called Live at the Wiltern, which was an amazing show. I had a bunch of friends that came to it. Phil Collins, Graham Nash, Melissa Etheridge, Mark Cohen, the guy I was telling you about, that I think is so great. A whole bunch of people sat in and were a part of it, and we had a great time.
And then you have a few more gigs here with CPR, and then you're actually starting a tour with Crosby, Stills, Nash again.
Yes.
When does that all start?
I get back, I fly home from this tour on the 17th, and I go from the plane right into the rehearsal the same day.
No rest for the wicked, I guess.
No rest for the wicked.
David, thank you very much. And we'll see you tonight. Good luck with the show.
It's a pleasure.
And
Please come.
It's our pleasure to have you up here this evening.
Thanks.
And let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll give away a few more prizes here before the end of the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back in just a second. Don't miss the show tonight. We'll be right back.